Good to be back again, Rabbi.
Thank you.
With you, of course.
I was under the weather.
I know, I heard.
Severe allergy. I don't know what happened.
You okay now? Thank
God. Much better.
Okay, just
Much
take
better.
take it slow.
90%.
Too much pressure, no good for anybody.
You're right. I agree with you.
You take it too much up
No.
on yourself, you know?
Baruch Hashem. Now much better. Yes.
They're inspecting the alarm, so that every
Okay.
few seconds, and that's
Okay.
it.
So I'm being told that there is an annual alarm inspection. So if you hear the alarm ringing, do not worry. It's a test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Want to refill?
No, I just filled it up. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I think I'm going to remove the mask to speak. I think it's better. Day, 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 day. Day, 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 day.
אבל יש היום 90 משפחות במיר ישיבה.
One second, we're recording. Talk to me after the class, please. Mehila.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, welcome back. Thank you.
It's good to see you, Rabbi.
Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Shavua Tov. It's good to be back. Today, Monday, the 21st day of Iyar, the 3rd of May, 36th day of the Omer. Today's class graciously sponsored by Mrs. Fifi Braca, Le'ilui Nishmat, her beloved father, Albert Braca, Mr. Abraham Ben Faridi, Alev Shalom, as well as Ivor Braca, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved mother, Pauline Rose Bat Sarina, Aleh Shalom, and by Mr. Hai Cohen Arazi, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved father, Yaakov Ben Esther Setut, Iratzon, that to the words of Torah, all neshamot have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. So as we enter the 6th week of Sefirat HaOmer, so we welcome Yosef HaSaddik to be the host of the entire week. Yosef, as it says in the diagram of the Sefirot, it's basically, you can see it here, is the Berit Milah. The area between the legs of the person. You have the right leg, you have the left leg, and in the center you have the Yesod. What's the meaning of the word Yesod? Yesod in English means foundation. The foundation of holiness, it's all depending on the concept of the Berit Milah in the case of men, and the concept of Taharat HaMishpacha in the case of family purity. Additionally, we all understand very well that without having a good foundation, nothing really can last throughout life. Let's say you're building an edifice, you need to have a good foundation. You're going to get married. Hatan and Kala need to have a good foundation. If you don't have a good foundation, how can they survive as a couple, etc.? But additionally, interesting enough, according to Kabbalistic writings, Yesod, it also means the area in which the heavens and the earth touch each other. What does that mean? Open the door, please. Thank you so much.
They're using the radio, right?
No, I know, but it's too stuff here. I need the air to circulate. Especially with allergies, I need to have them. Thank you. What exactly it means, the concept of heaven touching earth, they seem to be separated. The heaven seems to be, you're right. It's a lot of noise to the radio, but okay, we'll hope the recording will do fine. The concept of the heavens and the earth, they seem to be two faraway locations. The earth is where we live, and the heavens is something that unless the person leaves the world, cannot be in the heavens. According to the Zohar Kadosh, the distance between the heaven and the earth is 500 years of traveling. Taf Kof Shana, that is the language. Now don't ask me what speed they use. If they use the Concorde speeds or the Boeing 757, or they use supersonic, or they use light years, don't ask me because I do not know that question. But one thing is for sure, 500 years distance, it means a lot. But yet, at this moment, we are touching the heavens with the earth. We are eating, we are saying berachot, we just finished praying, we having a delicious breakfast, at least looks delicious to me. Feel free to use the toaster if you like to use it to make the bagel more crunchy. So at this moment, you are touching heaven and the earth. How? Simply speaking, you are saying berachot. You are learning words of Torah. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov says. A Jew's mission in this world is to connect both worlds, the top and the bottom. That's why we always say the concept of elevation. Let's say we have 3 sponsors today to the class, and what do we say? Class sponsored le'ilui nishmat, for the elevation of the soul of the person. Let's bring the start of the week. Baruch haba. Yosef HaSaddik. Not talking about me, okay? Talking about Yosef, the son of Yaakov. I hope one day I'll become Saddik. It's never too late. No, maybe you are, maybe. Anyways, what was Yosef HaSaddik's mission in Egypt? His mission was to have people believe in God. His mission was to have people to be circumcised. His mission was not to fall, and it says it very clearly, not to fall through the challenges that Egypt demonstrated in those days. If we think that we have challenges today, of course, each generation has its own package. Each generation has its own misyonot. But Baruch Hashem, we have each other to support ourselves. We have a synagogue, we have Torah, we have kolelim, we have yeshivot, we have Torah institutions, we have kosher food, we have mikvaot. In other words, we have enough power and enough tools of survival that makes us being able to survive. But imagine yourself, go back over 3,500 years ago. Yosef HaSaddik, a teenager, goes down to Egypt forcefully. He has no safra Synagogue. He has no iTorah.com.
No Rabbi Galimidi.
He doesn't have Rabbi Galimidi, obviously. He doesn't have breakfast like we have, served in an individualized tray. He doesn't have mikvaot to go. He doesn't have kolelim to go and to charge the battery of his neshama. What does he have? Only emunah in Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Torah that he learned with his father as a child. How long can that last? If a person doesn't review the learning, the person forgets. But the Zohar Kadosh tells us that Yosef HaSaddik, even though he was separated from his family, even the Torah tells us, Bechol asher hu oseh Hashem masliach beyado. Says the Zohar Kadosh, how can a person attract godliness to be with him constantly? It says when Yosef HaSaddik did not allow the influences of Egypt to affect his life. And today we live in a generation that if you're an influencer in TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, right? You are malach. Chas v'shalom. But this is the way our society lives today. We glorify the vain and the empty.
Yeah.
And that's why a person needs to be very careful in this matter. With that being said, also the 6th week of the Omer is connected to the 6th day of the creation. What was created on the 6th day of the creation? Humans, mankind. Before the creation of humans, what preceded? The animals, the birds, and all the physical creations. Why, if the human is the ultimate goal and the purpose of the creation of the world, the humans were created last. Create the humans in the beginning. So the answer is that if humans would have been created in the beginning, animals would have believed that humans created the animals. And therefore there could have been the issue of idolatry, that animals will glorify the humans for creating them. So God created the entire world and was served in a silver platter, like we call in Hebrew Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in English means the table is set. How easy is you come from the prayer and you have the breakfast waiting for you on the table. Very convenient. Remember the olden days that people used to stand on that table and pick up the muffin and the burekas in the good old days of the wealthy years of abundance, that the breakfast was, it's coming back. It's coming back because we're reactivating the breakfast club. Be'ezat Hashem, slowly. You know, but Teshuvah is a slow process. So also the breakfast is a slow process. Baruch Hashem, we are thankful that we had what we have, very elegant tray with the cream cheese and jelly. You come from the class, it's ready for you. Unbelievable. And the rabbi is waiting for you too. It doesn't get any better. So it says, interesting enough, that the entire purpose of the creation of the world was for the purpose of the creation of mankind. If mankind would have not been part of the master plan for the creation of the world, will have not been a purpose for the creation of the world. As I said on Shabbat, in the concept of Hilul Hashem or Kiddush Hashem, we are ambassadors of Borei Olam. We represent God. Every action that we do in this world has a reaction. And the actions create a mirror image for the well-being of the person. So it says here that Adam and Hava, they were the forefathers of humanity. That's why the Pasuk calls Hava Em Kol Hai, the mother of all living creatures. Because if Adam and Hava would have not existed and being able to procreate Cain and Hevel and everything that follows through the world of procreation, so how the world will have come to a reality of life. And that's why occasionally, every few chapters of human history, we have calamities. Calamities like, for example, the Mabul, the flood in the time of Noah. What prompted Mabul? What prompted the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah? What prompted the Tower of Babel? From these three incidents, the Tower of Babel was the nicest of all. Sodom and Gomorrah and Noah times are competing which one was the worst. What makes the Tower of Babel the best of the three?
It was killed.
Because some people were killed, obviously not as many as the other two, but there was unity among people. As the Pasuk says, Vayomeru ish el re'ehu. When it came to build the Tower of Babel, the verse says, and a person spoke to their friend. In Sodom, there was no such a thing as friendship. In the time of Noah, not only that there was no friendship, there was immorality. Same gender relationship, the way the Pasuk says, also in Sodom. So we see that even the things that are happening in front of us now are situations of challenges. And that's why Mabul, flood, it comes from the word bilbul. What's the meaning of the word bilbul in English? Confusion. It's a world of confusion. Even in our days. Somebody told me that from now on, the United States will raise the flag of pride. That is a recipe for disaster. If you're asking me spiritually, it's a recipe for disaster. Because that type of manifestation of pride, it goes against the principles of humanity. Not even against the principles of Torah. It goes against the principles of humanity. Why? because Goyim also have prohibitions of same-gender relationship, and Goyim also have prohibitions of adultery. So don't think for a minute that because a Goy is a Goy, so a lot of things are permissible and a lot of things are forbidden. And don't think for a moment that the 7 Noahide laws is the only thing that applies to them. Sure, 7 Noahide laws are the foundation of society. If these 7 Noahide laws are not observed and not followed, that brings, God forbid, disastrous situations in the world. I was asked to speak about the tragedy of Meron on the day of Lag BaOmer. I don't have what to say. Besides pain and suffering, I don't have what to say. We don't understand. We don't understand. But one thing is for sure. One thing that the Jewish people need to have and need to increase is in respect to one another. Is in kavod haverim, the way it says in the Holy Books. The Mishnah writes in Pirkei Avot. Regretfully, in the Jewish people, there is differences. And many times people take these differences like right or wrong. And that's not what the Torah and David HaMelech say in the book of Tehillim. Hinema tobu mena'im shevet achim gam yachad. Is that they ask the great Hafetz Chaim why there are so many differences among the Jewish people. You have Sephardic and Ashkenazic. You have Sephardic from where? From Halab or from Sham? Or from Morocco? From where? Tetuan, Fez, Casablanca, Tangier, Melilla, right? Chazak. If you are from Lebanon or you are from Tunisia. If you are from Egypt or if you are from Yemen. If you are from, just Iran, Iraq, Baghdadi or the other one. So already that creates differences. Let's go to the Ashkenazic department. You have Ashkenazic Yeshivish, Ashkenazic Hasidic, Ashkenazic Lindvak. Which Hasidic? Which group? Which dynasty? Gur, Pupe, Belz, Lubavitch, Satmer, Kasho, Kloisenburg, or Komarna, Karlin, Nachmistrivke, Boyan, etc. I can continue giving you more labels. So it looks, in 3 minutes, I gave you already 30 different groups among the Jewish people. And regretfully, what happens? Through ignorance, people believe my way is the right way, and if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. And that what prompts mahloket. What do you think? It's coincidence that it happened in the night of Lag BaOmer, this tragedy? For sure not. It's a wake-up call. Of course you can point the fingers to whoever you want to point the fingers. The police, the organizer, narrow place, etc. Okay, we can justify intellectually a lot of things. But as Yehudim, the Torah is teaching us that that's not the way to settle this type of tragedies. Because if that's how we're going to justify the tragedy, I don't want to say what I should say. But I'll tell you one thing. We did not learn the lesson if this is how we justify it. Unfortunately, this type of tragedies, you know what it does? It unites people. Even in the Israeli politics, which is not a topic that I like to speak openly, but let's be honest here. What's going on? We have no government
2 years.
already for 2 years, 4 elections, and maybe a 5th one coming up. Anti-Torah, pro-Torah. Anti-Jews, pro-Christians. Whatever is happening in the land of Israel is also a wake-up call to all of us. So the question is, what do we do? What do we do? Give him a tray. This is the Elul Ishmat, his mother. Give him a tray. Thank you. So what do we do in order to remedy this type of situation? We cannot go back. The tragedy happened. I don't know how many casualties. 45, right? Now, what is the number 45 represents in the Torah? It's actually a verse in the Torah. בעתה ישראל, מה השם אלוקיך שואל מעמך? And now Jewish people, ma. What's the meaning of the word ma in Hebrew? What? What's the numerical value of the word ma? Mem he, 45. So ma Hashem Elokecha shoel ma'imach. What does God ask from us? Kim le'ir'a u'lahava oto. To serve God properly. Through love. Not through fear. Fear is easy. But through love is a much challenging level, but it's a much higher level. And that's why we had the Omer. For Halacha, the morning of the Omer stopped. But for 33 days, nobody got married. People didn't take a haircut. People didn't listen to music. Why not? Because of the passing of the 24,000 greatest rabbis in the generation. Can you imagine being Rabbi Akiva? You have 24,000 students, and every day, and I'm giving you an average, there are 750 burials. We cannot imagine what that means. 750 burials a day. If we go once to the cemetery, you come back exhausted. You come back drained. We went the other day. You come back exhausted. It takes a toll on the person. So imagine you are Rabbi Akiva and 750 burials a day. And the Talmud says why they died. The Talmud even tells us that they died by a godly punishment. There was no terrorism, there was no virus, there was no food poisoning, there was no, God forbid, any kind of calamity created by humans. It was a godly message. And the Gemara doesn't mince words. The Talmud says very simple. There was not respect between them. And guess what? You may say, but Rabbi, they were the greatest sages of the generation. And because they were the greatest sages of the generation, they needed to portray a good example to the masses. Otherwise, if the greatest leaders don't act in the proper way, what is expected from the average individual? And that's why we learn on Shabbat afternoon that a rabbi, in a position of a rabbi or a community leadership, he cannot miss and he cannot minimize the representation that they do. They represent the Torah. They represent God. They represent the community. And God says, you know what? If these 24,000 rabbinical leaders don't have the basic principle of respect, I'd rather have a world empty of Torah than having Torah that is tainted by the lack of unity and harmony among people. This is God talking, not me. God talks through the actions. And the Talmud says, in 33 days, 24,000 chalas. The world went into darkness. If for 45 casualties, the Jewish nation is in mourning, imagine 24,000 in 33 days. Huh?
How did he
Sure, the 6 millions of the Holocaust as well. But again, let's understand the differences between the tragedies. The 6 millions of the Holocaust, there was Hitler, Imach Shemo, whatever he did. The stampede in Meron could have been avoided. Obviously, we're talking after the fact. But if you think retroactively, somebody asked me, how could it be? They went to do a mitzvah. So first of all, the Talmud says that you cannot rely on miracles in a moment of danger. That's the bottom line. You cannot say, I'm going to speed on the highway 100 miles an hour to make it on time to the synagogue to pray, and for that reason, that's not going to give me a ticket. And suddenly the police stops you. Of course, why? The Talmud says, En somchim al hanes. You cannot walk into a situation of danger believing, oh, God is going to make me a miracle. So that by itself, it's already something what to say. But going back to the students of Rabbi Akiva, there was no stampede. The drama happened, you know how it happened? People talking with each other.
Tell me something. How could he have 24,000 students? How could he have 24,000 students?
Excellent question. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, 12,000 habrutot. Rabbi Akiva was a substitute of Moshe Rabbeinu. When the Torah was about to be given by Moshe, God shows Moshe Rabbeinu, Dor Bedorshav, every generation with its leadership. And suddenly he sees Rabbi Akiva, and Moshe says to the Almighty, hold on a minute, why don't you give the Torah through Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva is the giant of the generation. God says, no. Kach yatsa melibi. This was my desire. By Rabbi Akiva, in order to defeat the Roman Empire that was running the show in Israel, he makes sure to establish Torah academies nationwide. And that's how he was able to have that many students. After this tragedy, and this is perhaps one of the great miracles of all, is that Rabbi Akiva didn't fall into a depression mode, which have been justified and understanding. What did he do? He says, I'm going to restart the Torah, but not too many students. 5 students only. And Rabbi Akiva came with a motto, Ve'afta lereacha kamocha. Don't look at the differences, because we all are different. The Talmud says there are 3 differences in a human being. How they look, the sound of their voice, and how they think. I cannot expect you to think like me, because you are you and I am me. We perhaps can see things in the same perspective, but we can also agree to disagree. And if I see that you are saying something, I have the power as a human, intellectual, and the power of speech to tell you, I think that this is the way it should be done. But through communication, we are able to understand each other. But in the students of Rabbi Akiva, regretfully, this didn't work. If you didn't agree with me, you're wrong. And there are people who are this way. My way or the highway. I have the final word. You're wrong, I'm right. You don't know what you're talking about. I know, listen to me. All these kinds of comments and statements are detrimental for the interpersonal relationship. And that's why, if you look in the action points for the Sefirah of today, it says that a person must become an example to others. Now you may say, but Rabbi, I'm not the rabbi. I agree. You want to be the rabbi tomorrow, give you the class, give you a suit, tie, paint a beard? You sure?
Positive.
Okay. But guess what? You are the leader of your family. You have the leader of your home. What do you think? At home, the person doesn't need to have good behavior. It begins at home. You know, when the Talmud says, Be'afta lereacha kamocha, you love your fellow man as you love yourself, You know that there are 3 opinions. What does it mean, re'acha, your fellow? One opinion says God. Love God like you love yourself. Other opinion says your wife, your spouse, like you love yourself. And the third one is to your friends. So it says that a person should become a role model, starting at home for the family. At the end of the day, the Talmud says, Ma'aseh avot siman labanim. The actions of the fathers is a sign for the children. It's like a father tells the son, why don't you go to shul to pray? If he doesn't go to shul to pray, how do you expect the son to go? Or why don't you put on tefillin? If the father doesn't put on tefillin, how he expects the son to put on tefillin? But if the son sees that the father gets up and goes to the synagogue, if the son sees how the father speaks to the mother, if the son sees how the mother speaks to their father, and they see how they respect each other, and they treat each other properly, and they interact in a beautiful way, that's a guaranteed return that you're going to have a domino effect in a positive fashion. Haim Tovim. So, Be'ezat Hashem, we hope that the Sefirah of today gives us a better perspective of what's going around us, Be'ezat Hashem, and we should only have good news coming from Eretz Israel and all over the world. And we say thank you to Mrs. Fifi Braca for graciously sponsoring today's class. La'ilui Nishmat, her father Albert Braca, Abraham ben Faride, Mr. Ivor Braca, La'ilui Nishmat, his mother, Pauline Rose Batsarina, and Mr. Hai Cohen Arazi, La'ilui Nishmat, his father, Yaakov ben Esther Setut, Alav Shalom. ברוך אדוני לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך